Hey y'all, so let's talk about ERAs, endometritis, and uterine biopsies. Hey y'all, welcome to my YouTube channel, A Bundle of Faith. I'm Narissa, and if you haven't already, please go and check out my last video about where we were in our journey and where we are now. And also make sure to like and subscribe below for updates because there's gonna be a ton. So, where we left off. So, last video, I was actually going to get an endometrial biopsy. So, the reason why we do endometrial biopsies is to make sure we don't have endometritis. If you checked out my last video, you already know our story and you know that endometritis was an issue that we had. So I have chronic endometritis. So that means my endometrial lining gets inflamed. So we always, prior to transfers, do an endometrial biopsy because we want to make sure there's no inflammation, because prior to Kennedy we had 2 IVF fails and we believe that that was attributed to endometritis. So we decided this cycle that we were going to try a fresh embryo transfer. So that's a little different than what we've done prior, which were all frozen embryo transfers. So the difference is this time we'll do a retrieval and 5 days later we'll do a transfer. So we don't do any freezing of our embryos and we won't be doing any testing. But we did decide to do genetic testing, which I'll do videos on coming up so you guys can kind of see what that is. And it basically lets us know if there's any genetic traits that Kenny and I have together that can cause our embryos and our babies to have issues in the future, right? So that's what we decided to do. The other embryos that we have past the one that we transfer during our fresh transfer, we're going to freeze and PGS test like we did prior. So that's somewhat of the difference. And it's a little quicker than the frozen embryo transfer. And the reason why we did this and decided to do this time was because my AMH levels, which is my egg reserve levels, have gone down a little bit. And my doctor wasn't as concerned with hyperstimulation of my ovaries as much as she was last time. My AMH last time was 3.59, now it's 3.52, and she's not as concerned with the chances of my ovaries hyperstimulating. We'll talk about that too. But we went and did our endometrial biopsy for this cycle because we decided to do a fresh transfer, and guess what? It's back. So my chronic endometritis is back, and we decided to go ahead and start the antibiotics for endometritis. So I just completed 14 days of doxycycline, and that's the medicine that she gives me to try and clear it up. And this coming Monday, today is Thursday, I'll be going in to do a test to make sure that it cleared. Praying. We go in, make sure it's cleared. She'll do a whole biopsy and take tissue, and they send it off and check and see if the inflammation is gone. So it's a little different than doing an ERA, which is basically to make sure that you are transferring your embryo on the correct day, because sometimes your body and the meds prompt the doctor and let them know if they need to change your transfer day. So an ERA basically tracks if they need to wait a day or go ahead a day to do a transfer. So we decided to be proactive, and we decided to start doxycycline, which is the antibiotic that will help clear up the endometritis. We decided to start that early. So the other option was to go through our cycle and see if the meds during the cycle would clear the endometritis. And basically my doctor would do a endometrial biopsy during my retrieval and then test it, and we would see between that day and day 5, which would be my transfer day, if it had cleared. But instead of doing that, we decided to go ahead and start the doxycycline ahead of time and be more proactive with everything. And I go on this upcoming Monday, today is Thursday, and see if it's cleared. So we'll know ahead of time if everything is gone and good. And if not, then I'll just continue another 14 days or less, depending on things, of doxycycline to clear it. So that's what we decided to do. We decided that rather than waiting, because I feel like you'd be more in limbo going into retrieval and seeing if everything worked out, and then it could change your fresh transfer to a frozen transfer, right? Now, there is still a chance that I have to do a frozen transfer because my husband and I decided to do a genetic test. And so we basically spit in these little vials and then sent it off to the labs, and they test to see if Kenny and I hold any common genetic traits. And if so, these traits could be disorders. So we wanted to see if those were any factors in this process. And if so, let's just say we do have 2 matching genetic traits for a disorder, then at that point we can decide if we want to just do a frozen embryo transfer and send it off and get them tested and do all that. So there's a lot of decisions that you have to make in between. So that's where we are with that. So my endometritis is back. Went ahead, did the antibiotics. I check on Monday to see if it cleared. And Kenny also did a sperm analysis, which we will talk about also on Monday, and I'll keep you guys updated on. So, and praying that everything is okay. So that's where we are in our process. That's the reason why we do endometrial biopsies. And we can talk a little bit about ERA. So as I was saying before, with ERAs, you basically do somewhat of a test to determine if they need to change your protocol in regards to when they do your transfer. So an ERA is set to determine if they need to wait a day to do your transfer or transfer a day early, because depending on how your body responds to meds, it can make a difference, right? And you want to transfer your embryo at the right time. So that's what an ERA is. I have done one in the past and everything was fine. So my protocol is the same in regards to that. I don't have to change my protocol in regards to when I transfer. And that's more so for a frozen embryo transfer. So there's a lot of things that come along with stuff. This is a process, guys, and it's a roller coaster, and literally we're here for the ride. So that's where we are. We are currently waiting so I can take this test on Monday, making sure that everything is cleared and good. We wanted to be proactive, not wait around. So fresh transfer, here we come so far. We'll see if it changes. If it does, we'll just be doing a frozen embryo transfer, which is what we're used to. I also went ahead and picked up my meds as well. So I had 1 shot of Lupron. I plan on doing an upcoming video on that as well, so we can talk about all of these meds, what they do, and be on the lookout for all the rest of these upcoming videos and updates, because there's gonna be so much more. And if you haven't already, please go ahead, like and subscribe below for all notifications, because it's gonna be so many, you need to be notified. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Check out my last video if you haven't, like and subscribe below, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for following along on our journey, and there's so much more to come. Bye guys.